Hi, my name is Crystal Tierney, and I will be guiding you through this practice today. So, this practice will be a little bit more on the slow side, on the calmer side. It's a good opportunity to bring some movement into your spine midday or maybe in the morning. So in this practice, we will either be sitting down or predominantly lying down throughout. So with that, take a moment to grab any supporting objects you might like for your practice, whether that be a pillow or blocks or a towel or mat. And then you have the option of making your way into a seated form that suits you today. Take your time getting to wherever you need to be. And as you get yourself situated, you might choose to lay your hands on your knees. Or maybe you'd like to stack them over the heart, over your heart. And know that your legs can be crossed. Or you also have the option of sitting back on your heels. So as you make your way into a form of your choice, you may choose to bring a lengthening to the spine. Option to stay here in stillness. Or maybe you would like to join me in some movement. So you might choose to bring both arms overhead, possibly lowering one hand down to the ground. And you might like to tip over to that side. Notice that in this stretch you can choose how you like the sensation. You can stay in stillness, or you can bring some movement into this form. And option to try the other side. So as you try the other side, you might notice a difference. And you might not. So option to continue here. Or maybe you'd like to come up through center. Option to bend at elbows and bring your arms upwards. So here you can twist from one side and then twist to the other. Notice that in this form you can twist as far as you like, and you can twist at whatever pace you like. Option to hold in the middle. And here you might choose to reach arms overhead and then possibly bringing them back down to bend up the elbows. You might choose to synchronize your breath with these movements. Or maybe you'd like to keep your breath separate from the movements. Option to bring arms back down. And maybe here you can bring a bit of movement to the spine. Or perhaps you'd like to explore some shoulder rolls. Notice that you can make these as big or as small as you like. And you're in control of the movement and the direction. Another way that you could possibly move today would be to, maybe with your hands on your knees, you can open up the chest forward. Maybe you'd like to look towards the sky as you do so. And then oppositely, maybe tucking the chin in and curling the spine. And then you can move between these two. Knowing that you have the option to linger in one or the other. You might like to explore some neck movements. The one way to do this would be to drop your chin down towards your chest. Option to stay here. Or if you like, you can begin to slowly roll your head towards one side. And then maybe you'd like to explore the other side. As you do this, you might notice your breathing. Option to continue that movement. Or you might choose to join me in another movement. So here you can wrap your arms around yourself in a sort of hug. And then we're going to begin to roll or slump forward. And just like when you're moving the neck here, you might begin to roll your spine in a sort of circular motion. Notice that you control the pace and the direction you move in, and how big these circles are. If you like, you might choose to make your way into a tabletop form. So we'll be in this for a moment or two. So if you'd like, you might choose to place a pillow under your knees. So in your table, you might notice that your wrists are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. Your toes might be tucked or they might be long. Option to stay here in table. Or if you like, you might choose to raise one arm overhead. And then maybe threading that hand underneath. So I can show you with the opposite side. So threading under. You might choose to continue this movement. You also have the option of resting your shoulder on the ground, maybe your head. Your hand can stay on the ground for support. In this form, you might notice you breathing. When, in your own time, and if you like, you might choose to explore this movement on the opposite side. Raising one arm overhead, and maybe threading it underneath the opposite arm. An option to continue this movement. Or possibly lingering with the shoulder on the ground. You may or may not notice a difference as you switch sides if you chose to switch sides. When you're ready, if you're ready, you might choose to make your way back to seated. Option to stay here in stillness. Or option to raise your arms overhead. Maybe palms to touch, and maybe hands through heart center. So that's one way of moving. Another might be to raise your arms back down rather than through the center. You have a couple different ways to move, knowing that you can switch between one or the other. Once again, you might notice your breath here. And you might choose to move in rhythm with your breath. Maybe choosing one movement to inhale and another movement to exhale. So you might choose to extend your legs out long. Maybe intending your toes towards your body. Your legs might be straight or they might have a little bend in them. And you possibly might bring your hands down to either side of you. So in this form, you might notice a sensation along the backs of your legs, maybe along your back. You might not notice the sensation at all, and that's okay too. You might choose to stay here for a couple rounds of breath, knowing that you can come out of the form at any time. Option to keep one leg long. Then you might bend your other leg, foot to maybe touch your thigh. And here you have the option of staying long, or maybe you'd like to begin to bend forward in the direction of your extended leg. Know that your hands can rest wherever they may, whether it's your extended leg or your extended foot. Option to stay here, or option to explore the opposite side. So whatever leg was extended, you would bring that in and then extend the opposite leg. Option to stay long, or maybe you'd like to bend forward. You might notice a difference in sensation on this side, or maybe it feels the same. When and if you're ready, you might come back up to seated. If you like, we'll begin to make our way onto our back. When you're on your back, you might choose to bring your feet in towards your body. Your hands can be on your body, or they can be along beside you. You have the option of staying here. Possibly you can explore raising your hips off the ground and lowering them back down. So you can continue to raise and lower your hips as you like, knowing that you can linger in one form or the other, or you can come out of the form entirely. You might choose to move in rhythm with your breath. Maybe inhaling as you raise your hips, hips. And exhaling as you lower. Option to continue that movement, or maybe you would like to explore a twist. You might choose to bring your knees in the direction of your chest. And then you might tip over to one side, maybe using the support of your hands. You can place a pillow between your knees or under your knees if you like. Then you also have the option of extending your opposite arm out long, or maybe bent at the elbow. You might choose to look over that shoulder. And the option to stay here for 3, 2, and 1. If you like, you can make your way over to the opposite side. So knees in the direction of your chest. And then tipping over on your hip with the support of your hands if you like. Maybe extending opposite arm long or bent at the elbow. And option to look up at the sky or ceiling or off to the side. Maybe staying here for 3, 2, and 1. If you like, you can make your way back through center. And then we'll begin to make our way into a final resting form. So you have the option of staying here on your back if you are currently on your back. Or maybe you'd like to keep the pads of your feet on the ground. Or option to extend them long. Your hands can be on your body or on the ground. And of course, you always have the option of being seated. So here, you might take a moment to simply acknowledge yourself in this moment. Acknowledge yourself for taking some time for yourself to move and taking some time for yourself to feel embodied or connect to yourself. You might take this time to set an intention for yourself for the rest of your day, whether it's the morning or lunch or evening. Another option would be to take this time to notice your breath. You can do all of this with your eyes either open or closed. If you're choosing to notice your breath, you might like to explore adding a little bit to your inhale and then adding a little bit to your exhale. Knowing that you can come back to a natural rhythm at any point. Maybe taking a couple more rounds of breath before coming back into your day. So you have the option of closing practice on your back if that's where you are. You might also choose to roll off to one side and make your way to seated. If you're in seated or laying down, you have the option of possibly bringing your hands to your chest, stacked or in prayer. And simply taking one breath to yourself to thank yourself for this practice. And thank yourself for continuing to take care of yourself day to day, even though I know it can be hard sometimes. Once again, my name is Crystal Tierney, and I thank you for joining me in this practice. And I hope to join you in a practice in the future. Take care.